Hey, dirtbag! Yoo-hoo! Dirtbag! Hey, dirtbag!
What the hell do you want?
Just checking you got a handle on your new name.
You know, growing up as a kid, there was probably nothing better than going to a Blockbuster on a Friday night after school and renting a video game. Okay, I just lied there a little bit because there was something better than that. That's when you actually got to buy a game. Whether it's with the money you saved up on your own or your parents were nice enough to get you one for your birthday, Christmas, or whatever occasion. If you're like me, chances are you were excited beyond belief before you even started playing. And one of the biggest reasons why I would get excited was because of the box art and, more importantly, the manual. Well, even now I still get a little excited when I buy a new game, and on the way home I'll check out the box art front and back, and then I'll open up the game to find out that there's... well, manuals are going the way of the dodo. Given this was to be expected, with digital distribution becoming more common, honestly, I'm surprised that some games still even do manuals. But this is kind of a shame in my opinion. There was nothing cooler than taking a look at the box art, front and back, and cracking open that case on the way home, checking out the manual, reading up on the game itself. And back in the 80s and 90s, video game manuals were just as creative as the games themselves. They weren't generic like the ones seen here. No, they were colorful, vibrant, full of personality, and they were really engaging, giving you a perspective on the game you couldn't get anywhere else. In fact, let's start off by looking at two of the most influential games of the 80s, Super Mario Bros. And The Legend of Zelda. So with the Super Mario Bros. Manual, it isn't as colorful, but there's still so much to take in here, such as the story. One day, the peaceful Mushroom Kingdom was invaded by the Koopa, a tribe of turtles famous for their black magic. The quiet, peace-loving mushroom people were turned into mere stone, bricks, and even field horsehair plants. What the fuck is a horsehair plant? The only one that can undo this magic is the Princess Toadstool, daughter of the Mushroom King that, by the way, is never heard from again. Unfortunately, she is presently in the hands of the great Koopa Turtle King. Mario, the hero of the story, maybe, hears about the Mushroom People's plight and sets out on a quest to free the Mushroom Princess from the evil Koopa. That little description makes this game sound so epic. And I love the part where they put in maybe in brackets. No real reason why it's even there other than just to give it a little bit more personality. Even look at the personality they try to give 1-up mushrooms and power-ups by describing them as bonus prizes and Mario's friends. Now I can see why 1-ups would be referred to as bonus prizes, as really what the hell else were you gonna call them back then? But to refer to the mushroom, oh wait, sorry, the magic mushroom, yeah, just dive into the drug scene even more, guys. The Fire Flower and Starman as Mario's friends. That is just so weird to refer to them that way. But I guess that's just part of the charm. And the drugs. Holy fuck, man, the Mario universe makes a lot more sense now. As for the Legend of Zelda manual, well, do I even really have to say anything that you guys don't already know? This thing was massive. A lot of info, a lot of art, a lot of creativity, just a lot of everything. It was easily one of, if not the best manual of the 80s. Just looking at the images I've shown, you can tell a lot of thought went into it, and that's something I'll always appreciate. But you know who were the king of manuals back in the day? Rareware. Oh yeah, they didn't just rule the video game market during the 90s, you also couldn't top them in manuals either. Fucking hell.
You're enjoying an episode on manuals? You've already tapped out on ideas, Sonny? It's no wonder you're praising the creativity of manuals, because you don't got any yourself. How pathetic.
You know what? Why don't you shut the hell up? Because you know what? If I recall correctly, you were pretty fucking prevalent in these manuals, you fucking trusty old bastard. Okay, get him the fuck away from me right now, please. Because I will choke out a 16-bit character if I can animate it properly right the fuck now. Please, just get him the fuck away from me.
See you try, you hack.
But yes, when it came to Rareware, well, you know just as well as I do. Just about anything they touched was pure gold, and of course their manuals were no exception. I probably said creative and personality more than 10 times in this video already, but nobody had more of that than Rare. Especially personality. Hell, the minute you open up the manual for Donkey Kong Country, on the first page that's usually just a generic seal of approval or something boring that no one ever reads. At the bottom of it, look who shows up.
Look at the fancy box. Look at the size of the instruction manual. You don't think they would have gone through all this trouble if the game was any good, do you? Oh, that felt good.
That little smart-ass blip was an indicator that you weren't in just for a good read. But an amazing read, and it ain't the only time he pops up either. Oh no, Cricky's got a mouth and he's not afraid to taunt you.
You're only reading this because you're bored. Bonus levels? Ha! Don't hold your breath looking for these. There are none. Loser.
And this was a theme that would run throughout the Donkey Kong Country games and Donkey Kong 64.
Ah, this story's even worse than DKC. They're really scraping the bottom of the barrel this time.
Or,
I don't know how this got the seal of quality. It seems any old trash can worm its way through these days.
my god, man, you were like the original internet troll before internet was even a thing for us. That, or you were just that miserable back then. So now I'm fucking
shut up,
out.
wannabe.
Oh, here's a good one in the Donkey Kong 64 manual. It's a little hard to read, but it goes like this. Trinkets and baubles, every last one. You'll be so busy collecting this tatty lot, you'll not notice a lack in gameplay. Wow, it's almost like Rare even knew themselves this game had a crap ton of pointless shit to collect in it. They can't be that self-aware, can they? Are you fucking trying to get me killed?
What?
The hell do you mean, what? What's going on here? She should be the damsel in distress, not one of the heroes? I'm going to have feminists trying to castrate me for even quoting that. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Ha! When I say it comes off as charming, you, on the other hand, have no class for bringing it up in the first place. Why? Tired of me? You're lucky I'm here to brighten up this boring video just like when I brighten up those boring manuals. So shut up!
But that last line was probably right on the nose. Manuals were meant to be fun, not boring, and Rare was one of those developers who just got it. Even without breaking the fourth wall, whether it was GoldenEye or Banjo, you always had something special to read, and I can't thank developers like Rare enough for making my obsession with video games just a little more special. But that's really only half of why I like manuals of this time period. The other thing that was great about them was all the errors or beta stuff that they never intended for you to see in them. As you can see, back then there wasn't really a big focus on quality control when it came to making sure all the info was correct. So there was stuff that was wrong, or wasn't in the game at all, or you were shown previous builds. In fact, let me show you one of the best examples, Super Mario 64. And before we even jump into the manual, we get our first glimpse of an error right on the box. Yeah, if you couldn't tell, the pictures were from a different build of the game. You could see that the HUD wasn't the same, and oh wait, I'm sorry, the last picture shows an even earlier build that you could tell was taken from this. But then we get into the manual, and this is a pretty well-known error, but still. You lying to me? I saw Toad plenty of times. You're just trying to be a wise guy, aren't you? Or are you referring to Toad the character? Well then, yeah, he's never heard from again if that's the case. Either way, son's fucked up. But you know what else is fucked up? Being told to cheat. Yeah, this is another one that's well known, but in the manual for Super Mario Kart, it actually encourages you to cheat by looking at your opponent's screen. I mean, I was gonna do so anyway, but now it's legit because Nintendo told me it's okay. I got permission, so fuck you. I think my favorite one though for this stuff was the manual for Bob. One of my favorite, or better to probably say my favorite video game. And I know I haven't really mentioned Sega or Sony all that much, but when it came to Sega, it was more or less similar to Nintendo manuals, just Sega never really had color, which surprisingly, but not surprisingly, they still do to this day when they do make a manual. And for Sony, well, as you can see, I don't have any PS1 games, and if I don't have it, well, I can't really talk about it. But I'm sure they were just as entertaining, but back to Bob. For the manual itself, it actually does a pretty good job when it comes to making sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, but a couple beta elements were still left in. Such as the bomb remote looking much different, some creatures that never made it into the final game, and a couple enemies that looked very different. But the reason why Bob is one of my favorite examples of errors on manuals or on the box art is because of these little pictures. If any of you have ever played Bob, which is probably not a lot of you, but anyone who has can spot that the developers use a cheat code so they could show off this part of the game. And how do I know? Well, getting 9 lives isn't too difficult, but getting 82 wave shots? This game's version of nuke everything in one shot ammo that only gives you 3 shots per pickup? Yeah, you know a game is hard when the developers need to cheat just to show off the later parts of the game. But this kind of stuff was pretty common to see though, especially if it was from developers who weren't known for having the best quality. Acclaim was infamous for doing this kind of stuff, or well, at least for the South Park games. Such as here, you can see some beta images on the back, and in South Park Rally, the manual is completely riddled with beta images. But the biggest fuck up of this trilogy, well, besides the shit I talked about in the past, is this line right here. Scuzzlebutt. Scuzzle fucking butt. Why in the holy fuck would you tell us that you can race a Scuzzlebutt, but you can't unlock him in the N64 version? You fucking cocksuckers, you know how many hours and playthroughs I did in hopes that maybe, just maybe, I'd figure it out? And don't forget, this is a game that has losing a race with collecting no turkeys as a credential for unlocking Starvin' Marvin. Oh, you bastards! And speaking of false info, Majora's Mask apparently pulled something like this too. And it was so misleading that even Nintendo felt they had to correct it by including this little card with the game. On page 3 of the Zelda Majora's Mask instruction booklet, the paragraph incorrectly states that the game is a 4-player game. Zelda Majora's Mask is a 1-player game only. Well then, yeah, I guess it's true, it did say that. But okay, Nintendo, I understand you have standards, but I think you could have let this mistake slide. It's not that big a deal, cause who the hell reads this part of the manual anyway? No one reads this crap at the beginning, it's boring as hell. I certainly would have never noticed it if it wasn't pointed out to me. Christ, I'm surprised you guys even spotted it. But this is when manuals started to become professional, I think is the best way to describe it. Creativity was starting to become not that big a deal anymore now the games were able to show off that creativity a lot better themselves. Now, given you had your exceptions, like Pikmin was still pretty entertaining, showing how small Olimar and Pikmin were compared to a controller or a GameCube disc. I always found Resident Evil manuals to be an interesting read despite the more professional tone. And Rockstar, even to this day, still pumps out some of the most creative manuals out there as they're usually set up like a brochure and oh shit, a poster! Yeah, remember when we actually got cool bonuses like posters of comics and not having to pay out the ass for it? But nowadays, we're lucky if we even get something like this. Unfortunately, like I said at the beginning of this episode, with the transition towards digital, it was only a matter of time before game manuals became a thing of the past. I mean, I get it. The way most manuals were done in the last 8 to 10 years, people weren't reading them anyway because of how boring they were. And not to mention, I'm sure developers are saving a lot of coin by not making them, plus they can probably pass off as, hey, look at us! We're eco-friendly! I don't know. It just always saddens me when I pick up a new game and this is all you see. It feels so empty, like it's incomplete. But times are changing, and in another 5 to 10 years, we probably won't even get this anymore. In the end, all good things can't last forever. It's just the reality of things. But despite the fact that manuals don't mean that much nowadays, I'm still grateful that I was able to be around when they were still a pretty big part of gaming. Not to mention, manuals have made some of my episodes a hell of a lot better. My last 2 reviews wouldn't have been nearly as good if it wasn't for these 2 gems, so there's another reason why they're awesome. And since I don't like the original ending I made for this video, here's a couple bloopers.
Oh, you're so... You take Sata.
Hey guys, I just want to say thank you so much for watching this episode of Dirtbag Gaming. I had a lot of fun making this episode, and I hope for a video on manuals, I did a pretty good job for you guys. But anyway, so with the update video I made, I stated that I have a website now, which indeed I do. If you want to go to it right now, just click on my logo right here, or you can click on it in the description below. You already know about my Facebook and Twitter and all that cool stuff, so no need to explain it again.
How the hell did this hack get a website? Must have did a lot of sucking and not at video games if you know what I mean.
Shut up!